that, you'll probably hear it now. There we go. Okay, so we'll probably have a few people pop along anyway as we go along through it, but I want to get started for you so that we don't go over the hour and you can go back to your evenings and relax. So I'll share my screen. Lovely. And if it'll go into presentation mode, lovely. Okay, I hope you can all see that, everyone. You can give me a thumbs up because I can see your screens. Lovely. Thanks very much. Okay, so let's get into it. Know Your Bog. It's an initiative as part of the Community Wetland, or not part of the Community Wetlands Forum, the Connecting Communities with Peatlands project. Now, the Community Wetlands Forum is a partner in it, as well as Irish Rural Link, and it's a project funded by the National Just Transition Fund. But the Know Your Bog part of it is supported by the Irish Community Archive Network, as well as the Heritage Council and the National Museum of Ireland through the Know Your 5K map that I will be showing you as we go through this. So I'm sure a lot of you that are here are very familiar with, oh, that's just popped out. You're very familiar with Connecting Communities with Peatlands. It is a project funded by the Just Transition Fund, as I said, and we've been running the project since last year, alongside a lot of other projects working with the Community Wetlands Forum and Irish Rural Link. So I am the project coordinator for this particular project. So it's been fantastic working with so many different people, and we work with people who are mostly based in the Midlands, but we also wanted to bring this initiative, the Know Your Bog initiative, for outside of the Midlands area and the Just Transition area as well, because there's just been a huge amount of interest in it. And just to give you an idea of the project itself, it's very much about promoting community development and capacity building in the context of just transition, because not only have people who have worked for Bord na Móna been impacted by this, but the communities that have been surrounding Bord na Móna and relying on it for employment. So that is the reason why capacity building and community development are key components to just transition. So based on that, we build capacity based on local leadership through supports by agencies and institutions, empowering communities to manage their own resources, providing a networking platform for community-led conservation groups through sharing knowledge, ideas, research and best practice, and then supporting obviously the protection and management and wise use of peatlands as well, and other wetland types for sustainable communities. So you can see here on this map, this is the areas that we're working in normally. And you can see Roscommon, Longford, Kildare, Laois, Offaly, North Tip, East Galway, Westmeath. So these are the areas that we deliver our project. So what has any of that got to do with why we're here this evening and why we're talking about Know Your Bog and an interactive mapping initiative? So as part of the project, we held ideas generation workshops. That was earlier on this year in June. And as part of that, we worked with a company called Ice Cream Architecture, great experience working with people in communities in Ireland that are engaged with bogs. And one thing that just kept coming up over and over and over again was developing an interactive open source kind of digital map that would allow communities to map biodiversity, to allow them to map heritage, stories, memories on a very accessible kind of map. So that's where we're really at. Now, a lot of other ideas also came out of that, but that was something that we wanted to follow up, and that was something that was going to be easily done, and we could try and do it as soon as possible. So how we went about that was looking at what already existed out there. So some of you might be familiar with the heritage maps. The heritage maps that's supported by the Heritage Council. A lot of it though, I found, and other people, even just talking to them in the workshops, found that the heritage maps were very data heavy, you know, mostly kind of geared towards researchers. It wasn't really exactly what people wanted to be able to do, was be able to look at a map and, you know, have a nice story attached to it and something kind of a bit more tangible. There's also the National Biodiversity Data Centre, but that's mainly, again, that's for biodiversity mapping and recording, you know, what species are in an area. So it rules out the whole point of heritage. And that's another aspect that people wanted to map. So that ruled out those guys. There are also story maps, and I know in East Galway, yeah, not in East Galway, but in County Galway, I think the county council there have developed story maps, but it all exists on one website. It'd be a huge amount of work, and we wanted to be able to kind of roll something out really quickly, really simply, and something that's easy to use and that the community themselves would be able to directly contribute to in their own time. And that's how we came across the Know Your 5K. Thanks to the heritage officer, Amanda Pedlow in County Offaly. And she had mentioned it to me briefly, oh, like, you know, have you ever heard of this? And I hadn't at all heard of it. And now, even going around some of the counties over the last couple of weeks, some people had heard of it before, maybe in passing. Some people had contributed it to before, but just once, and that was it. And then most people didn't really know anything about it at all. So that's what we went with. We went with the Know Your 5K map, and I'll go through with you why. It was just something really, really simple and hosted by the Irish Community Archive Network on their website. And they're actually, I suppose, they're a very similar kind of group to the Community Wetlands Forum in that it's members based, and they are all contributing to this website. And you know, they're heritage focused as well on that aspect. So as I said, it's all hosted on Our Irish Heritage website. So when you kind of go onto the Know Your 5K piece, this is what you're kind of looking at. You get this Google Map view of Ireland, and all of these little, you know, nice red pins that look like there's so many of them. But I'll show you when we go into the website. In actual fact, it's quite, they're very sparse. When you zoom in, they're not as grouped together, and there are some towns, some areas that just don't have anything at all, and towns that you'd be completely surprised that there's nothing there, no information. So we'll go through that. The benefits really of using this Know Your 5K map is that it is online and it's very easy to use. It's very easy step-by-step process. You can share information around heritage, culture, biodiversity, stories. So any kind of information about a place can go up onto this in a multitude of formats. You can also locate the bogs directly on the map because they're using Google Maps. So you can pinpoint exactly the location of where you're talking about if you want to. It's also available worldwide, so it's not just limited to ourselves here in Ireland. People from abroad look at it. You know, I was talking to the guys that run the website, and I was like, well, where's your traffic kind of coming from? Who's using it? And he's like, obviously, you know, there are heritage groups and people using it locally, but there are also people who are tourists that are using it, mostly people coming from America, the Irish diaspora, people, you know, wanting to find out more about their own ancestry, where their families were from, you know, any of these kind of local stories and information. So that's really kind of their main traffic at the moment. It's free to use as well. You don't have to make a payment. You don't have to register. You don't have to set up a login. So that makes it so much more accessible because, you know, you don't have to go and write down a password and then forget about it 2 minutes later and then go changing your password the whole time. So it's very, very simple that way. And And then it also has the support from the Heritage Council and the National Museum, and obviously the Irish Community Archive Network. So that kind of gives it a sense of legitimacy as well, and that it's going to be there for quite some time, that it's not just going to disappear off the internet. And it's a great space to be able for communities to be able to store a lot of their own archives that they have themselves, or information that they have themselves that might just be floating around in your house, or it's all the information is in someone's head. It's a great place to be able to put things that we never really had much of an opportunity to do that before, and be able to record our own local heritage and stories. So I'm going to bring you through on this on a step-by-step, and then we'll go into the website and go through it. Now, I will be sending on the presentation and the slides. So don't worry about trying to remember all of this or taking it down entirely. So you'll have all the information, and then also this is recorded as well. So if you prefer to listen to someone rather than read, whatever suits your learning style, that's fine. So obviously our first step is to get onto the website, and that's ourIrishHeritage.org. And you're looking for Know Your 5K. So when you're thinking of Know Your Bog, you're thinking Know Your 5K, and vice versa. And that's on the main menu on the website, but we'll go and look at that. We'll scroll down the page and we'll find Know Your 5K locations. And that's where we'll find Know Your Bog in there. So Know Your Bog is a location within the Know Your 5K section. And then when you click on Know Your Bog, you'll come into a nice page that tells you a little bit about Know Your Bog, and it'll ask you to complete a submission form. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back out of this, and we'll go on to the website. I hope you can see it all there. So great. So you can see it there on your screen, and up here along the main menu, there's Know Your 5K. So it's hard to miss, it's right there in front of you. So we'll click into that. And like I said before in the, the little snapshot that I had on the slides.
Aoife, it's still showing the PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you. I can't believe it's doing that, but these things happen. Okay, thanks, Rena. I'll leave it and then come back in. Share screen. Now, are we better?
Yep, perfect. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Rena. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I'll go back to the beginning there. So that's the homepage of the website there, our Irish Heritage. And then up here at the top is the Know Your 5K along the main menu banner here. So easy enough to find. Lovely. So when you scroll down, there's like the image, the snapshot that I had shown you in the presentation on the PowerPoint. So when you're out here, it looks like a huge amount, but you can see when we zoom in, they're very, very far apart. They're few and far between. There's not a huge amount kind of going on yet. That's where you guys come in. So it is, there's room, there is room to do all of this. So when you scroll down, we come to the Know Your 5K locations. So we're looking for Know Your Bog. So we're looking for that location, and we nip into that. And here we go. It's right up the top, really handy. So you click into Know Your Bog, and then you get to like a little section piece that tells you a little bit about Know Your Bog, and anything that's uploaded, it'll show up on the map as a little red pin, obviously, where you locate it. And I'll show you how to do that once we go into the filling out the submission form. But it'll show up here as a post as well. So you can go into this and, you know, have a little scroll down through who's put up what and read about all of the other places that you want to know about. Yeah, so like just to give you, I suppose, an idea of yeah, the little section here, you know, as you know, as we move away from using peat as an energy source, we are inviting communities to share their knowledge and memories about their bogs. So we're interested in lots of different stories, information about places we live, what we did, who did what and who lived there, the sounds, smells, what it looked like. And, you know, heritage is, it varies, and it's a huge range of things. You know, it can be folklore, it can be craftsmanship, it can be architecture, biodiversity. And the beauty, I suppose, of using this is that you get to choose what your own local heritage is as a community, if you're doing it within your community group, as an individual. And that's something, I suppose, that we're going to miss at a national level, because it's harder to try and record all of these things at a national level because only the local communities really know all of these things. So it is really to support communities in maintaining their own heritage and deciding what is their own heritage going forward into the future. So you'll see here that, yeah, your submissions will be added to the Know Your 5K mapping tool. Fantastic. So that's where you get your little pin. Are there any questions so far, if anyone wants to ask? Or I can keep going and we look at the submission form, because that's, I suppose, where we're going to get most of our questions is in the submission form itself. But I'll go through the form, and what I'll do is then we might take a couple of questions if you guys want any clarification on anything. Okay. Lovely. So the submission form is very helpful in its layout, because at each section it tells you exactly what you need to do, what you can do, what you can't do. So it does help guide you through the whole process. They also have a guidelines section here. If you want to read that before uploading anything, it might help you maybe find somewhere where you can get more information on a subject. So it can be useful. So obviously here you want to put in your title of your contribution. So whatever you want to call it. The one back there was Galway's Living Bog, Carrownagoppel Bog. So you type that in here. And your contribution itself, you can add up to like kind of 5 different media, I suppose. So you can add words, photos, you can add a document, you can add a video clip from YouTube or Vimeo, and you can also add an audio clip from SoundCloud. So you can do this in whatever way, shape, or form you want. You know, it doesn't have to be all 5. It could just be 2. You might have words and a video. You might have words and a photo. So any kind of combination. Now, they do recommend that you at least add in words, you know, they'd like, you know, some little bit of text. And if you are just adding in words, they would also like maybe an image of some description. So that's just something to bear in mind. So I'm just going to click all of these so I can show you what they ask for as we go through. When you're adding your words, you can just type them in as you would in a box. So I'm just going to put in, it's simple, you know. If you wanted, you could also copy and paste as well from Word document or something else, obviously to save some time. I do recommend though that you get someone to proofread your work as well before you submit it. It's just to, you know, make sure that there's no errors. And it also helps me because these forms come into me. So it reduces my workload as well. So it does ask you where you sourced your information. Now, obviously, this is, you know, based on local heritage and can be a local story or a tradition. It could be something that you've created yourself, something that you've written yourself. But you can also use information from publications. So you can take things from like books, articles, newspapers, websites as well. That's not listed there, but you can also take something from a website. But if you are doing that, taking it from a publication, you click the button and it does ask you for the details of the publication itself. So you add that in there. So if it's a website, put in, you know, where you got the website that you got it from. If it's a book, you know, reference, you know, the author, the year it was published, the title. So it's just to make sure, you know, that they know where the information you got, where it's sourced from, and that you're not just robbing people's information and putting your own name on it. So that's really important there to make sure that if you are using a different source, to do that. The next section then is on photos. So it's asking you how many images do you want to upload. You can upload up to 6 photographs or images, and they'll be uploaded then when you submit the form, and they have to be a JPEG or a PNG file, and the maximum file size is 5 MB. I think that is 5 MB for the totality. So it can't be, you know, if you're uploading 6 photos, it can't be more than 5 MB. So just bear that in mind if you are getting, you know, nice photos from like a professional photographer, that the file size is relatively small, so they'll be able to do that for you. You can also upload documents as well. So if you have any kind of original documents that you want to include in this, you just simply choose a file that's on your computer as normal, uploading a file. They do recommend, though, you can do PDF or a Word document. They do ask, though, that it is in a PDF form. It's more kind of preferable. Just because, you know, with a Word document, someone can download it and edit it, and then it could end up somewhere else with weird information or wrong information. So having a PDF file is recommended. And lastly, the kind of last 2 pieces that are more your visual media, your video clips. You can't upload the video directly. It has to be hosted elsewhere. So in this case, it has to be on YouTube or Vimeo. So you would then pop the link into here that you would get from YouTube or Vimeo or wherever you have the video initially. And the same goes for then if you are just uploading an audio clip, that it has to be hosted elsewhere on SoundCloud or Audio Boom. I think SoundCloud is probably the most popular now. I think Audio Boom is probably a little bit older. It's not used as much. So it does have to be elsewhere. So just bear that in mind if that's something that you want to include in your submission. Now, I know most people do already host their videos on YouTube and Vimeo and things like that. So just to bear that in mind. Okay, so this is the fun part, as the location of your contribution that creates that nice little, the red pin on the map. So there are things that it says here, you know, please tell us the location of the feature or the place being described. For privacy purposes, you can provide a general area. Then, you know, if it is, you know, your home address, or if it is on someone's private land, or, you know, also we don't really want people, you know, walking out into the middle of a bog. If they're like, oh, like this is on the map out here and we're going to go off on a little wander in the bog, and they're not familiar with the bog, or if the bog is, say, a special area of conservation or things like that. So we would recommend that, you know, you can drop the pin somewhere that's close to it, but somewhere that is, you know, accessible for people and safe as well. And that, you know, they're not obviously going to be trespassing on someone's property as well. So just to bear those issues in mind when you are doing this. Now, most places already are public spaces, and there's no issue there. So there's two ways of doing it. You can provide an area code or an address, and that's just as simple as typing it in there. You can all have my addresses that I use from there, all my locations. So that's that simple, easy. The other one is to mark it directly on the map itself. So if you tick this, and like this will probably give you a more accurate, I suppose, you know, it allows you to choose exactly where it is. And it also guides you through how to do this. So you go into this Google Maps link, which I'll show you now, and hopefully the screen will continue to share when I click on it. And it tells you to right click on the map at the location, select what's here, and you'll see that the longitude and latitude are displayed. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for your longitude and latitude. Kind of sounds a little bit like a maths class to me. I don't like numbers. So this is something actually that I almost get wrong every time I do it. So hopefully I get it right this evening. So you follow the link into Google Maps, and let me know if you guys aren't seeing this, but I think you should do. It asks you then to accept all of these lovely terms and conditions, because if you don't, you won't be able to do it. So we accept all. Great, and brings you to where I am right now. So I'm currently in my home in Rathcoole, just outside Dublin City. So I'm going to go somewhere else that isn't Rathcoole. Any suggestions? If anyone wants to shout in with a suggestion, I'm more than happy. Or are we all too shy? Okay, I'm just going to go randomly in County Offaly because there's Rahan. Okay. So let's say we're here along the river. Now, if we want to get the exact location, how I've been doing it is, as they said, do a right click. Now, you've got it right here up at the top. So that's our longitude and latitude. And then I just do a left click. And then down here, it says it's copied to my clipboard. So I have those numbers copied. Then I go back to my form right from the top of the tabs. And I go back into my box. And then I paste it in, and that's my exact location. So it might take you a couple of times to do it with all the clicking, because it did take me a little bit to get used to the rhythm of it, but it is quite simple. So give it a few goes, even if it takes you a little bit of time. There's also a question here about if your contribution relates to a local monument or architectural feature. So if it does, you can also add the sites and monuments reference number if you want, and you can do that by going to the heritage maps, and that'll bring you to the heritage maps website, and it'll, you know, offer you a code. Now I know if it's in relation to the bogs, there might not be a huge amount of sites and monuments involved, but if you were going to do it and maybe more locally, or if there is a site or monument somewhere near on the bog, work away. They also ask you for the date of your contribution. So if there's any kind of related time period involved, they ask you to pop that in. That's simple enough. You know, if you're talking about, you know, back in the 1920s, put in the 1920s. If you're talking about when the bog was formed, some of us were laughing the last few weeks saying like, are we putting in like, you know, 8000 BC, or, you know, it's like, well, whatever you think suits. So pop that in as well to give us an idea of what time period you're talking about. And lastly, before you submit, we do ask for a name. So a first and last name and an email address. And this is just so that when you do submit it, that I can get in touch with you if there's anything that I need to clarify with you on the submission, or, you know, if I think maybe something's missing, or, you know, anything like that. It's just for getting in contact with you. And finally, then we'll ask you to submit the form, and you accept the terms of use and consent to having the name and email address being stored along with your contribution, and that it'll, you know, it's only going to be used for us to contact you, no other reason. And then you hit submit. and then it goes to me. And then I'll have a nice little read through on the back end of the website before it goes up live on the website. So it doesn't, when you submit it, it doesn't immediately go up online. It'll go to the back end and we'll publish it from there. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen just so I can actually see us properly. And if there are any questions so far, I'm happy to answer them for you. So does anyone have any questions? You can also put them in the chat box if you don't want to come off mute.
I mean, it was a really good find. I never heard of it, ever. And I'm kind of in this kind of space for years.
Yeah.
And the second question is, do you think there's much traffic on the site?
Yeah, from my conversations with the guys that run it, a lot of it is community groups that are using it for heritage purposes. They get a lot of researchers as well from universities. And mostly they do get, you know, people with Irish ancestry that are looking, and people coming usually from the States that come to Ireland and, you know, they want to go and visit the ancestral town and things like that. But I think it could go in a different direction. It could be used more locally by people, you know, as a local tool for tourism.
Chambers of Commerce or regional groups, or I mean, I'll mention it to Tourism Ireland. Like I honestly have never heard of it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure because it's open source, people will be worried a bit about it. But to me, it's still curated in some shape or form. It's not Wikipedia. It's not.
Yeah, you know, like, and a lot of the content is it is coming from the public, but you know it's all accepted obviously in good faith, and it is reviewed. So like if there's anything kind of, you know, nasty that's put into a submission, obviously like, you know, we're going to get in touch with the person and like, well, obviously we can't publish this because of X, Y, and Z. But there's a lot of stuff like, you know, stories from local areas that, you know, you're not going to be able to fact check or anything like that.
No, I mean, I would see huge potential for transition year, or for older people, or new migrants coming to Ireland, or, you know, everything to just, it's really, really good. So well done finding it.
Thanks. We can thank Amanda Pedlow for signposting me to it.
She's a good heritage officer, but I think if CWF plug it in your project, and if it gets links on your site, it at least help drive traffic. But it could be a lovely category for our members to put their stuff on, or to, you know.
That's it. I think this is just the beginning, and then, you know, we can slowly you know, bring it further and develop it further. Thanks, Mary.
No, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, no worries. Is there anyone else that has any questions so far? I see. Rianuk.
Oh, sorry. No. Somebody's got their hand up. Oh, wait.
Someone had their hand up? I can't see.
Okay. Mine is, it looks like a very promising resource. The section there on Karen the Gospel is really interesting. And it looks like it's somewhere that you might have the information up somewhere else, like the Karen the Gospel looks like the story map information, but it's just another way to just another avenue for information. Is it okay if it's in Irish? Obviously, we're collecting in Irish.
I would imagine so, yes. Because there are other we'll have a look, actually. We'll go onto the site now and have a look and see, because I think there are other contributors that are based, you know, that they're not obviously writing about the bogs or anything, but they're contributing in other ways. So yeah, I'd be interested to see that. I would imagine that that's not an issue, Rianuk, at all.
Grand. And then that the date part does flummox me. You know, like maybe there could be some kind of an agreement about, if it's about a bog, we're going to say it's this particular era.
Yes. Well, like, you know, if you're writing, I suppose, about a piece of heritage or anything like that, you know, you can kind of have an idea of a date. But I suppose if you're talking about the development or the formation, you know, if it makes sense to kind of put in
back a while.
A long time ago. You know, I don't see yeah, I don't see that being an issue now at all.
Right, we just write down fado and leave it like that.
Yeah, actually, that would be really interesting. Fado and Aaron. Yeah, I just see a couple of comments there from Monica. Really good information is such a much larger source. Yeah, it does. Paddy as well. Yeah, like we've had there's been a couple of teachers and stuff that obviously have been involved with the community groups, and they are going to be bringing it into their classrooms for some of the kids. Obviously are doing history projects, and it's all continuous assessment at the moment, so this is, you know, what they're thinking of using as a tool. So we'll be in touch with them to see how it goes for them and support them in what we can, doing that in classrooms. So, you know, if we can roll that out on a wider basis, but at the moment kind of keeping it as it is now, because I am just me on this project, and there are other branches, but it is, you know, there's huge potential there if we can you know, push it forward and get investment in it and more capacity, I suppose, around it. Anything else before we might go and take a look actually at the Caro Nagapal submission, and have a look then for Rianach to see if we have any Oscailga as well. Okay, I'll go back to sharing my screen. Where are we now? We're back into the website. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Know Your 5K. So here we are on the map. So they completed theirs the other day. They submitted it. So if we zoom in to Mount Bellew, where Caro Nagapal Bog is, they've dropped their pin right there. So you can just click on the pin and this nice little box appears with the image and the title. So we just click on that, and it brings us into this post with more information. So they're titled obviously Galway's Living Bog, Caro Nagapal Bog, Mount Bellew in County Galway. So what they've done here is, I think all of the text has already exists somewhere else, but I think they've added or chopped and changed a few different things. They've included some nice pictures. You can also, when you're doing your pictures, include a title as well, just a little bit of information on what the photo is. There's the bog cotton there. And this is the entrance to Patch's Garden. That they actually tell you a little bit about Patch's Garden as well. Here it is. It's actually kind of similar to the story of Tony's Hill and Clara. So Patch's Garden, it's a kind of a till island in not in the middle of the bog, but somewhere on the bog. So it's really interesting, and they have a nice little story there, and they've kind of focused a lot of their interpretation around that. But some lovely, really nice photos that they have included there, and great detail, broken up into nice little sections as well. It's not a big block of text, and they have more content to add to this separately as well. They have videos that they have up on YouTube that they're going to include, so they'll have more than just the one post about Caro Nagapal Bog. Then when we go down the bottom, then you can see that it has the author's name as well, a few of the keywords that surround it. They put in the time period of 2022, because I suppose this is kind of the stuff that's happening now as well, of what they're doing at the moment with the bog. And you can also comment as well on the pages. Now, obviously, they don't get published straight away. People in the back of the website read the comments just to make sure that, it's not any craziness going up there. But you can converse then with the authors and with people that have been involved in this. And or if you wanted to even add more information, if you came across a post about somewhere locally and you had more information, it's just a really nice way of being able to do that. I am interested now to go out into Connemara and see in any of the other Gaeltacht areas. There's not a huge actually amount. There's Galway City. Let's see.
Yeah, it's all outside of the Gaeltacht.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing really. I'll oh look, hold on. We have it maybe in
No, so it's right.
No.
Yeah.
they have their title in English and Irish, but I
Mhm.
was kind of hoping that they would do it. I'll have a chat with the guys, Renook, and see if I can't imagine that they wouldn't support it anyway, because
Yeah.
there are other outside of the Know Your 5K on this website. They also just have an archive that is also an open source archive for community groups that are involved with the Irish Community Archive Network. So I would imagine
Maybe if you googled an island, you know, in Ishmore or one of the errands.
That's true. Yeah, there's just
Or
interesting.
Guidor, maybe in Donegal or something like that.
There's none on the islands.
There's none on the islands. Oh my God, I must tell Inish
Nothing.
Baffin, huh? Oh my
Uh,
God.
further up.
We'll go up.
No, that wouldn't be a guess.
No,
Never.
no.
Oh, well, it's just decided to go into that.
Shocking.
Yeah.
We just have to get the ball rolling then.
Yeah,
I
you're
was
the
just going to say, but I'd be
pioneers.
very surprised with the Heritage Council with public funding that you know.
Yeah, technically they're not allowed. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well then you can be the pioneers.
Project for Udaros, huh?
Yeah, that is interesting now. That really is.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised.
Maybe try down Kerry.
I was kind of
Yeah, I
like,
was going to say the blast
Waterford.
that's sort dingle and dangle. No, got a bit. Oh my God.
Just up a bit further. Up a bit north, up into Kerry, you might have a chance.
No, there's nothing.
There's Killarney, Tralee.
Nope.
Oh, there is a bit out in Dingle there.
Yeah.
No, Phoenix.
No, Dangle isn't. Nope.
No, nothing. Interesting. Okay.
On the top. Wow.
But it's very recent, isn't it? Is Know Your 5K? Is that from? Is this the pandemic?
I thought
project?
it was from the pandemic.
Yeah,
but
no, I think this is older.
It's older.
Oh,
it is older than the pandemic. That's why when I initially heard it, I was like, oh, like, was it an initiative, you know, during the pandemic to kind of get people out mapping? And no, it's a bit older than that now, not much older, but I think it's been around for maybe 5 years or so, maybe 6.
Wow.
So it has been around for quite some time. And I was saying at the beginning that, you know, some of the groups that I have met with over the last couple of weeks, they have you know, they have heard of it maybe in passing, but didn't really see how it could relate to them, or how they could use it for their own benefit, or, you know, for any kind of purpose. So one or two, I think, had done a submission onto it before, not necessarily relating to bogs, but had done a submission on this, and that was kind of it then. So now there's a renewed passion to go forward and do a few different ones. I have some other examples just to give you an idea of what people are doing. Now they're not necessarily related to bogs. These are all just, you know, obviously general heritage stuff. There is Owen Nagat's Cave of the Cats. This is actually a really nice one. I actually recommend, you know, going off and reading it yourselves later on, because I just thought it was really fascinating. It was put together by a local guy. He's local to the land, like his grandfather owned the land where it is, and he's now actually a guide there himself. So he gets.
There's a little EIP project there now.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
But yeah, there's a job advertised at the minute. Yeah.
Okay.
And I heard the cafe is worth going to.
Oh, well, I'll have to, like, I'm fascinated by it after,
you know,
reading about it. So I'll have to go down. but there's just some really nice stories in it, and I just highly recommend just go and have a look at it. And he's just gotten the little bit of text at the beginning, great,
Yeah.
and then you scroll down, you have your photos from inside the cave. Really simple, really, you know, easily done. There's a stamp from an Ordnance Survey benchmark as well. There's
Yeah.
graffiti from Douglas Hyde, which I thought was absolutely gas. I was like, what's Douglas Hyde doing in a cave in 1911, you know?
It was only up the road, you see.
It's just writing his name, you know? I just thought it was gas.
Hiding out.
I know. It's just gas.
Brilliant.
And again, yeah, you get, you know, your information there. And like he's covered, you know, a good bit of time period as well. He is the 5th to the 12th
Covered
century
up,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So that's one there. That's a similar kind of story, I guess. That's much shorter now. They just have a brief piece of text, which you can do, like if there's only like a limited kind of bit of information about it, you don't have to go writing a novel about this space. It can literally just be a paragraph. And this is in Castletown there. And a little bit of graffiti from US soldiers. Yeah, interesting enough. There's another one here. This one's quite nice as well. So like if, you know, we're talking about heritage, but there's also like biodiversity as well. So if you were out, you know, anyone who's into the birds, my own parents are mad bird watchers since the beginning of COVID. So it's just quite nice, you know, and I'm going to play it. The sound should come through.
Brilliant.
Just really simple. Really, really simple. Like that is like probably the simplest submission that you could do, you know. It's cuckoo call, Limerick, and it's the recording of the cuckoo, and she has the date there and where they are, and it's on the map. I'm assuming it's not in her back garden now or anything, but just something as simple as that. You can like take out your phone or whatever and record it. Now, obviously, if there isn't too much noise going on in the background. There's another one, again, very simple, a little bit more text, where they're trying to kind of pick out what birds are being heard in the audio. They're just kind of nice little pieces like that. So it can be as simple as doing a little bit of audio recording, you know, if you're out for a walk on the bog or something. And lastly, the last kind of one I have here, videos as well. Like this one I think is really smart because they've basically just recorded a webinar or, you know, a talk that they had put on. And that's probably the simplest way of like kind of getting any information. And it's a 3-minute long video, so it's not, you know, terribly too long to watch. And throughout the video, I'm not going to play the whole video or anything, but I just kind of want to give you an idea. So it's not just it's not just this chap chatting. And then, you know, they have a couple of different videos within it, similar to the one at Ruski. So you're kind of getting an idea of what they're talking about as well. So that's actually a really simple way of like doing it. If you do have someone coming to do a talk, and you can ask to record it and share it, that is an option as well. And then they also have, obviously, the little map shows up, and there's where it's located in Tarmanbarry if you wanted to go and have a little look.
I think it's lovely. I think it builds up when you're scrolling around through the map. It's kind of, it gives an eye into what people find interesting about their own neighborhood.
That's it. I know
very generous.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, is that, you know, it's the people that live there that are choosing what's important to them.
Yeah.
To record. And you're right. It gives an insight into the area and what is, you know, mostly what's held dearest to people. So we're hoping that the bogs are going to be one of those things. Hopefully now, we do have people that are working on all of their submissions at the moment. Just gathering all of that information is hard work, and trying to organize, well, okay, what posts are we going to do? Are we going to do one big one? Are we going to do 10 small ones? But it's really up to the community and what they want it to look like and what they want to do. I have a couple more slides left to go through that are just kind of like hints and tips. I'm aware that it is 8:20, and my God, that time flew by. So I'll just go through it quickly because I am going to send you on these slides. You can look through it yourselves, and everyone's going to be in a different, I suppose, at a different state of whether or not they know how to do these things. A lot of them are kind of no-brainers, but it's just good to have them there to reflect on as you go through this process. So I'm not going to, I pressed the wrong button. I'm not going to spend forever on it, because I want you to have time to ask a couple of questions before we go back to our own lives. So when you're adding words in, like I showed you in the Caro Nagopal Bog submission, they had used paragraphs, they broke up the text. There was a lot of text, but it was nicely broken up, so it wasn't too difficult to read. So just bear that in mind. You can also use headings as well, just to separate it out. To give there, maybe you want to have a bit more distinction between certain sections of the text. If you are, obviously referencing anyone or using anyone's work, give credit where it's due, mention their name. And then also please proofread. I would really appreciate that. It saves me time as well, but at least you're getting another pair of eyes maybe to go over it. Is always helpful, because I know sometimes I'll write something and then I'll read over it and I won't find the mistakes because I've been so bet into it for so long. So it is handy just to get someone else to read over it, and then I'll be reading over it as well, so you'll have double the proofreading. You can also add photos. So a lot of people already have a lot of great photos of their bogs, but also then there's other people that just don't maybe have any of this content or any of that. So you can use your phone. Phone cameras are really good these days. I have a little link there to a video on, how to get a really good photo on your phone, some little tips and the do's and don'ts, things like that. I'll let you watch that in your own time. You can also obviously use a digital camera yourselves, or have a professional photographer take photos. If you are using other photos taken by somebody else, ask for their permission to use them in the submission. Obviously most of the time they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's no problem, but it's always nice to be asked. And if you are taking pictures of people as well, obviously get their permission before taking their picture and putting it up on the internet. Because you don't want them to find out through, Mary's cousin's Aunt Joe, whatever, that they're up on the internet, and then they'll be annoyed. So always get the permission. Adding in the documents, make sure that the document is legible. If it's a scanned document, that you're not getting a lot of blur or anything like that. I know a lot of those older documents can be more difficult to read, but try and make it as clear as possible. You can only do so much, but just when you're uploading it, just make sure that it's it's not too bad to look at. And when you are as well uploading it, make sure that it's in the correct format, that it's not sideways or upside down or anything like that. And again, if you've gotten it from somewhere or someone has given it to you to use, or it's been in an archive or anything like that, give credit where it's due. You can thank them in the text. With video clips and things like that, you can record on your phone. Again, like, it's really, really easy to record stuff on your phone. I've included a link there as well to a video on YouTube that just kind of gives you more information on doing recording on your phone. I think Paddy Malone is still here. He'd probably be able to give some good tips and stuff. He's a great man with a camera. Just a couple of things, like, you know, if you are doing a video somewhere, put your phone on airplane mode, because if you get a phone call in the middle of maybe taking a video of someone or something, you get a phone call in the middle of it, you've lost everything, absolutely everything. You know, the phone will stop recording and then they'll be like, answer your phone, and then you'll be raging because you've lost everything and you're going to have to try and do it all over again. So the airplane mode or the flight mode is not just for when you're in the air, it's for also when you're recording videos on your phone. Also think about your recording environment, where you are, the lighting, the audio, you know, is it too bright? Is the sun coming out from behind the person that you're recording? Things like that. And also the audio, you know, if there's traffic maybe going by, or there's a mad wind going and you're not going to be able to hear the person talking. So just have a think about that before you go and recording them, because obviously the people that will watch the video, they'll want to be able to hear what the person is saying. Or, you know, what, you know, if you're recording bird song or anything like that, you know, they're going to want to be able to actually hear the birds, not the articulated truck going by in the background. Again, like, you can hire someone, you can get a professional videographer if that's what you wanted, or you could use a digital camera if that's what you have and you're more comfortable with, and you can get tripods and things like that. A lot of people already have stuff that already exists. There could be videos that already exist that have been done about your locality or about the bog or about bog history. Just get the person's permission, ask them, can you use it, before uploading it. So just always bear that in mind, really. That's kind of the moral of the story, I suppose. Get people's permission. And it's the same again, really, with the audio clips, except, you know, you're kind of more focusing on your recording environment and the audio, because that's all you've got, that's all you have to listen to. So when you're recording on your phone, again, airplane mode, because you'll lose it all again. Or, you know, you'll hear in the background, you know, you're getting a notification from Twitter or Facebook or something. So put the phone on airplane mode, and choose a good recording environment. You know, any of the halls and stuff that I've been in over the last week, I wouldn't record in them because it was very, very echoey. So try and have like a, you know, if you're recording a person talking at least, you know, whereas if you're outside on the bog doing audio, you can't really do much about it. But if you're recording a person just talking, you know, try and get a small enough room that it's, you know, not, you're probably not going to get a soundproof room, but that you've made an effort to try and make the audio sound good. The microphones on our phones are pretty good. You can also get external microphones that you can like plug into your phone, or you can plug into the laptop. They kind of vary in price as well. I saw one recently for about 35 quid. So if it was something that you wanted to invest in and do, that's maybe a route you could go down. There's a lot of oral history that's available as well. Like, people are kind of carrying out a huge amount of oral history projects at the moment. I know some of the members of the Wetlands Forum are doing that. So you can use audio as well created by someone else, but again, get people's permission, give credit to them. You know, if there was a recording of someone else speaking, you know, get their permission that you can use that audio. I've just included that section to add your location. It's another way of adding your location. So I've included that on the PowerPoint so that you have it when I send it to you. So that's nothing really to worry about. And practice time is really kind of for you to go off and have a look at all of those, have a look at all of those pins, go through the form, get used to the form, and then start gathering the information that you want to put up there. So that's it. I'm going to let you throw some questions at me, or if you want to do a few comments, maybe we'll stay on just for another 10 minutes to allow for that, and then you can all go back to your lovely ordinary Thursday evenings. So if anyone wants to pop at in the chat box, if you prefer that, or you can unmute and come in.
Aoife, can you hear me?
I can just about hear you, John.
Okay, I've a bad internet here. Just a couple of queries there. Thanks very much for bringing that to us. I didn't realize there was such a website like Mary. There's always something new, and thank you indeed. It seems fantastic, you know, and can be built upon. I'm just wondering, where is the map of Ireland? I'm on the website here and I just can't see the map, you know?
Okay, so if you are on the website, on the homepage, there's a menu bar across the top. It'll say like home, explorer, archive, and know your 5K should be one of those options.
Right.
And if you click on that, it should bring you in, and the map is at the very top of that page.
But I can butt in here and say if you've got a poor connection, which I'm tackling with, the map isn't coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true,
I just had that.
We'll have to resolve Ireland's broadband issues before we can roll this out properly, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My broadband is 0, actually. Believe it or not.
God. Yeah,
So
I
there you
can
go.
see. Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? It's really, really bad. That's, I suppose, you know, one of these, like, you know, we have the beauty of this being online, but then our accessibility and our internet connections are, they vary.
Irrespective anyway, thank you very much. And it's a great website, and seems we should use it, you know?
Yeah.
Big time, especially with the community wetlands.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, it's just a huge opportunity there for all of the communities to record what they've been doing locally over the last number of years.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just so much information of what groups have been doing and what they've been recording over the last few years. I know in Abbey Leaks, that's something that they want to do. That they want to be able to record all of what they've been doing only over the last 20 years, as well as obviously what the history of the bog as well. So there's huge scope there.
Absolutely.
So thanks, John.
Yeah. Thanks again for you know, educating us about it, you know.
Yeah,
very
no
important,
problem.
and we should promote it. And we will promote it, you know.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great, John. Thanks so much.
Yeah. No props. Thanks, Aoife.
Does anyone else want to come in? Any comments, questions on that?
No, I'm going to have to go, but I think it's fantastic, and just again, it's typical of so many state agencies and the best kept secret. You know what I mean, in terms of its potential.
Yeah. I think you know, if we've get a good response now over the next couple of months, because like we just, you know, I've only just started doing the workshops there September, so we'll see how it goes and what the traction is, and then from there we'll be able to
the other thing is you may get volunteers to help you. You wouldn't know, it could be a volunteer opportunity on that side, because it can be remote, it can be anywhere.
Yes, that's true.
So I have a dog going mad here, so I'm gonna have to
go on.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. If that's it, I'm gonna I'll stop recording now.
Thank you.